So you know, I'm sure they'll be just fine. And nothing bad could ever happen. Apparently, American society is disunified, which is probably not great. Benefit presidential challengers and boost extremists. I'm sure we're all okay, and nothing bad could possibly happen. We do need, apparently, we're missing some resources, though, so we'll try to fix that. We're missing some rubber. We'll get that from... Nobody wants to trade with us, huh? It's mostly owned by... Does Indonesia not have rubber? I would have thought they'd be a country that's rubber, but I guess not. So I guess we'll trade a little bit with South Africa for now. And we need some chromium. We'll get that from Cuba at the moment. We do have negative 18% stability and negative 45% war support. Which seems really bad. A ray of hope. 25 to 50% poverty rate? Oh, that's horrible. Yeah, no, this is... I don't know what's happened, but things are not looking great, I would say. Peace conference is over. I'm assuming Poland just lost the war against Germany. Yeah, not a huge surprise. Yeah, no, like, that's pretty bad to be at negative 18. Are we losing stability? How do you have, like, 50%... 50% poverty? It can't be that bad. Maybe it can. I don't know. Apparently, checkmark, though, all is well. Apparently. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that, but... NPP voter suppressions will grow weaker. Which probably harms us in the Deep South. Yeah, a handful of territories are now... not a handful of states, I guess. Are now, Where are we garrisoning? Garrison Cuba, Bahamas, Bermuda. I mean, the only place I see is Cuba, which I'm assuming because we own, yeah, Guantanamo Bay here. Pulling out of Africa did that, but it'd be worse if I didn't do anything. Well... Okay, so apparently the elections are now happening. Throw one more anti-air into you. 5 more tanks. Because the tanks have proven themselves. I think. The tanks have really shown that they are very, very effective units for us. Yeah, we're in kind of like a bad spot, I would say. Yeah, we've outlawed literacy test. After that, let's also do some special provisions. I'm trying to think. So let's look through the race. So the far right has lost 6 seats. The center's lost 2. The Republicans and Democrats have gained a handful. Click on you. It should show us the seats now. Purple is there's a mix, I believe. Yeah. So, the Republican Democratic Party has gotten a little bit more power. I mean... Party popularity is plus, 420. That's not bad. We're getting 0.45 political power a day. It's, I'm sure everything's fine. I mean, I'm sure things are also happening, worse in other places, I mean, what's your stability at? Your stability is at... I don't know where you actually... No, there it is. You have 100% stability in Japan. Okay, not great. You guys have 71% stability in Germany. Okay, not great. We're one of the worst major powers right now. That's okay. A day for tears. It is with a heavy heart I announce that at 9:35 a.m. today, Walt Disney died of lung cancer at St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank, California. He was 65 years old. He is survived by his wife Lillian, his 2 daughters Sharon and Diane, and a multi-million-dollar empire of hope and joy. Therefore, as a man ingrained himself and his works into America's long memory more than Disney. So the characters he created, Mickey Mouse, Peter Pan, Cinderella. I don't know if he created Cinderella or Peter Pan. But anyways, he touched the hearts of millions the world over, of all walks and ages, through his films he produced, of which there are now over 80 and counting. He has introduced America and beyond to the limitless world of fantasy and magic, made us all believe for a few short hours that these worlds were real. Through the parks he designed, he's blessed us with a glimpse of the future where all men can see their dreams fulfilled, their inner child let loose without care. The world was made brighter by his birth, and now made dimmer with his passing. CBS will hold a moment of silence to pay homage, following shortly after by a montage of Walt Disney's finest works and orchestral arrangement of the popular Mickey Mouse Club March. May his legacy bring happiness for generations to come, and may the man himself rest in peace, knowing that he had made many, many dreams come true. I kind of see the end of this campaign. Eventually, we're just going to end up getting nuked. I feel like someone's going to nuke us at some point, which is probably not great. Having a good authority that getting nuked is not a great thing for your country. Okay. Finding special provisions. Debating the Voting Rights Act. Today, Congress has convened to discuss the terms on the bill of our proposed Voting Rights Act. The bill is designed to provide a general provisions for the prohibition of racial discrimination in local and state level voting. Despite fierce opposition by the far-right NPP and muffled grumblings within the Democrats, we have managed to decide on a number of provisions already. These include forbidding the implementation of any sort of voting qualification, prerequisite, or any other act of interference against a person's right to vote on the basis of race, color, or language. A debate has arisen on the matter of certain special provisions that may be added to the bill. These provisions include legally requiring all jurisdictions to provide election materials to voters in multiple languages, allowing federal oversight in any state or local level change to election laws, and appointing federal examiners to oversee voter registration functions to make sure the provisions are being implemented. The debate is growing fierce with the far-right NPP and some Democrats arguing these provisions amount to federal tyranny, while the center NPP insists that they are absolutely necessary to protect the voting rights of Americans most vulnerable. Many within the Republicans, meanwhile, agree that a compromise would be best, allowing for some special provisions to return for some conservative amendments. How strong the provisions are, if they will be implemented at all, will need to be decided before we can take the bill to vote. Too many provisions and the Democrats will likely complain. Too few and the center will not be happy. Which course shall we take? Well, right now, we'll look at who's who. Right now, Democrats have 26 seats. The far right has 24. So that is exactly 50. We have... Is it exactly... Yeah. So they have 50 seats. Right now, we would have 48 seats. If all the Republicans and all the center voted for us. Political power goes down. Authoritarian democracy goes up a little bit. Get more political power. Let's push for full equality. And then we will do the Voting Rights Act. Yeah. We're negative 390 political power. That's fine. I'm sure nothing bad could happen by having negative 391 political power. Nothing at all. It would right now take us, I think, 800 days, roughly, to get back to 0. Which... You know, I'm sure that's fine. This will increase the status of civil rights. African-American vote will finally turn out in full force. Temporary support for other senators is cleared. Will be banned as if we cannot secure a majority of the votes in Congress. Okay, so once you're done, what do we want to do next? We can get Republicans a little stronger. 50 political power! We would like to do that and get the Head Start program. I mean, the country isn't in crisis, so I'm glad we're not, like, in a horrible situation. I mean, it's still not a great situation. And when will you be ready to go? You're going to be ready probably like 25 days, less than a month. In 1967, we'll pass the Voting Rights Act. And what are we doing for construction right now? Just more military factories, which isn't a huge surprise. We do have a ton of air experience. We might actually want to use the air experience to upgrade some planes. We're really not doing too much. 1970 planes are still like way too ahead of time though, unfortunately. 1970. What about like air accidents chance going down? I'm sure that matters. Germany's declared war on, I think that's Ukraine or the Caucasus? Who do you declare war on? You declare war on this guy. Okay. That is okay. We're not going to worry about that too much. But right now, for our production, we are going. You are currently Fighter 2, Tactical Bomber 2, Close Air Support. So let's upgrade you. You are the Thunder Chief. But I want you. Create a variant. You have so much air experience, we might as well be spending it on something. Upgrade you to you? Yeah. So make you into a variant. We'll also probably upgrade you to the Spectre. But not the one. We want you for here. We have 135 points. We can't put too much in here right now. So like one reliability. Like one of each. And that will basically spend all of our points. And we'll upgrade you to the better variant. Which seems okay. Spending all of our air experience. We don't really have a lot of army experience, I think, because we're spending it a lot of it. Also defeated somebody in a war. Okay. I can't imagine you winning at all against all of Germany here. I would support you if I could, but I'm assuming that I can't. Yeah, we can't do anything there quite yet, unfortunately. So next, we're going to get some better education within the United States. Seems like that would be beneficial for us. We have a lot of planes in reserve, but we don't care about that right now. I guess we get more rubber from South Africa. Or at least, you know, having enough. We have all the supplies that we actually need, which is nice. Democratic discomfort. President Lyndon Johnson walked with a small cohort of Secret Service beneath the Great Dome of the Capitol. As the Senate was not currently in session, fewer people than usual stood in the rotunda. But one appeared to be approaching Johnson rather quickly. Governor Ross Barrett, Johnson said, recognized the man. What a pleasant surprise. I was just going to meet with Rockefeller. Care to join me? Barnett did not appear to be in an animal mood. No, Mr. President, he said curtly. I just came by to say I was disappointed with your civil rights bills. You voted for them, though, yes? Yes, but they went far beyond the scope of what we agreed to. You played too fast to lose the Democrats' loyalty. We won't be likely to give it next time. Johnson smiled, taking a step forward and placing his hand upon Barrett's shoulder. Congressman, I only did what I thought was morally right and was best for the country. We're all one party, aren't we? Now, let me tell you something, he said, with a smile turned sour. If you ever think to threaten the integrity of the Republican Democratic Party again, I'll run your career into the ground. Is that understood? Barnett nodded begrudgingly. Excellent, said Johnson. As long as we're all in agreement, right? Right along. The conservatives get less popular, liberals get a little bit more popular, and we're more and more discontent. Okay. So right now, I mean, the National Progressive Party, the Republican Democrats, neither of them are very happy to be in their current coalitions. Everything is... Okay, so Republicans and Democrats are currently voting together. The Yankees and the far right are currently voting together, and the left and the center are currently voting together. Okay. So I'm guessing the center and the far right are not voting together, would be my assumption by reading this. Gaining the black vote. The Republican Democrats have accomplished one of the most monumental feats in social American history with the passing of the Voting Rights Act. Not only are the African Americans unimpeded on their way to the vote, but they are now actively flocking to the polls, greatly increasing the voter turnout. The surge of African American voters has spread throughout the South, not only in the major cities in Birmingham, Atlanta, and Houston, but also in smaller cities of Little Rock, Jacksonville, Biloxi. The population is even gaining ground in poor rural areas in central Alabama and the outskirts of the huge Georgia cities. But Lyndon B. Johnson was hard at work today. It was inevitable that with proper representation, African Americans would go to the polls in huge numbers to show their support for the party of their choosing. If Johnson could garner the African American vote, it's possible that the RDs could become a dominant party in the South to place in the NPP menace. This vote would make up all the Dixiecrats that quickly deserted the party once the act was passed. Time was of the essence for President Johnson as he began to dial up activists, church leaders, and professors of all throughout the South, starting with Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, and Georgia. African Americans become more and more politically relevant. Should we succeed in the Great Society program, we might be able to include them in our electoral coalition. So right now, we have weak impact on civil rights, very, very weak on everything else. But it doesn't seem like the center, I'm guessing maybe the center's like completely abandoned us. The South ablaze. Apparently people are not happy about the whole civil rights thing. Over the past few days, in a dramatic but unsurprising series of events, the South and its far-right NPP population have descended into what can be kindly called utter chaos. Dozens of protests have been organized all across the former Confederacy in cities such as Atlanta, Montgomery, New Orleans, and Savannah. All of this anger can be attributed to two men in particular, Senator Strom Thurmond and Alabama Governor George Wallace. These two individuals have riled up the white population against President Lyndon Johnson, following the recent announcements that his Great Society reforms would include comprehensive civil rights legislation. The Deep South has been long, strong followers of the far-right NPP and, to a lesser extent, more conservative elements of the Democrats. As such, they've always had a reputation for acts of defiance against civil rights legislation. But nothing quite to this extent. As of right now, it's unknown why Strom Thurmond and George Wallace have promoted such extreme protest. The only time will tell if this has any true impact on the president's decisions. The president himself, despite the furious southern protestations, have declared that the Great Society includes equality for all individuals regardless of race, color, or creed. He has dismissed the protest as nothing more than a far-right wishing it had true influence. It would appear that the stubborn Republican president will hold his ground against southern rage, but Congress will not. -3 stability. Support for authoritarian democracy and fascism goes up, and the NPP in the South continues to shift right. Blood on the asphalt. In at least a dozen cities across the nation, most notably in Birmingham, New York, and Los Angeles, African-American communities are in chaos. Their inhabitants taken to the streets to protest the passing of President Lyndon Johnson's landmark civil rights bill. The bill, which saw a fierce vote in the Senate between the progressives and the far-right and Republicans, has widely been criticized by the former for its lack of deep protections for African-Americans and the disadvantaged communities. It now appears that many African Americans share this sentiment, as tens of thousands began demonstrating early this morning, calling for the president a traitor, among other names. In many cities, however, notably Los Angeles and Birmingham, state governors sent in the police and the National Guard elements to disperse the protesters. Things have become violent quickly, however, with the protesters using improvised weapons to fight back, as well as makeshift shields made from hubcaps and trash can covers to block the fire hoses the police attempt to disperse them with. By the end of the day, hundreds of shops, cars, and public buildings have been vandalized or burned. Fighting appeared to be had the worst in Birmingham, where it appeared that the local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan involved themselves when the demonstrations began violent. The Klansmen formed a temporary alliance with the police chief in charge of the operation, and soon came down upon the protesters with clubs and other weapons. Now, at the most of Birmingham riot concluded, at least 19 people, 12 of them African Americans, are confirmed dead. So we gain national spirit, destructive race riots, which political power gain goes down. Another -25 stability. Okay, we're not -1. We're not -41 stability, -465 political power. Not good. At all. And I'm guessing, yeah, you have now won your war here. Orenburg's actually looking pretty large, but I'm sure they're going to get annexed soon enough. Just, it's a bit of a disaster right now. I'm willing to admit that right now it's not going great. Because, like, we can't pass anything because they got absolutely no political power. We also need some more chromium. We'll just get that from Cuba. No big deal there at all. You guys are fine. National Guard Division. Yeah, it's no big deal. Something like 1.3 thousand anti-air equipment. Now we're going to be... Man, okay. We can slowly get rid of like the race riot penalties. But there's so many events. Like this would take like this takes like 2 years I think to get all of it. But you know what? Let's do a little bit more for education right now. Try to make things a little bit more people like learning. German hegemony has returned. At the beginning of the Great Civil War that ripped the Reich apart, many of the Reich Commissars of the East broke free from the Germania. Either due to internal revolt or for the fact that the Reichskommissar was loyal to one of the defeated opponents of the new Führer. After the Bürgerkrieg ended, the weakened German nation was too devastated to even consider foreign expansion, but for a time it was deemed that the swastika would never return to the bloody fields of Eastern Europe. Today, however, marks a new beginning for the Reich. After a series of both military campaigns and diplomatic efforts, most of the former Reich Commissars have returned to the fold of the reborn Reich. As the world looks both in awe and worry, one thing is certain: German hegemony has returned. What can we do? What's my spy even doing? Just building a network? Why not boost ideology? No suitable ideology. What a propaganda. There you go. Do some propaganda in the capital. We have like a decent amount of information about Germany. They got a lot of. They have way more factories than we do, which is a bit of an issue. We only have a year and a half until. Yeah, there's only like a year and a half till the election, but maybe we can get reelected. It's not impossible. I'm sure. We only have negative 408 political power, negative 41% stability, and negative 47% war support. Everything's fine. Everything is golden. We're now making 0.22 power per day, so that's going to take us, what, 1,600 days to get back to zero? If we were just to sit here and wait, which is a while, let's just say. You know, teachers' unions, material. I mean, political power gain, stability plus 10%. You know what? Truman does have the right idea.